The house had always seemed too big for just my father after Mom disappeared. 3 stories of Victorian architecture, with wraparound porches and those distinctive gables that made it look like something from a Gothic novel. When Dad announced he was giving it to us as a wedding gift, I was surprised. He'd always been protective of the place, especially the master bedroom, which had remained locked since that summer in '87. "It's time," he'd said, pressing the old brass key into my palm. "The house needs young blood. New memories." Mark was thrilled. My architect husband saw past the peeling wallpaper and creaking floors to the home's good bones. He spent our first week of marriage drafting renovation plans, excited about exposing the original hardwood and updating the ancient wiring. "We'll start with our bedroom," he declared, rolling out blueprints on the dining room table. "That wallpaper has to be from the '70s. I didn't tell him it was actually from 1986, Mom's last project before she vanished. The first week of renovation went smoothly. Mark took time off from his firm to work on the house, and I split my time between unpacking and my job at the local library. The rhythm of hammers and the scent of sawdust became familiar companions. Then came the day Mark broke through the first wall. I was cataloging books when my phone buzzed. Mark's text was brief. "Come home." Now, I found him in what would be our bedroom, covered in plaster dust, holding a yellowed envelope. The wall behind him gaped open, revealing the dark space between the studs. "I found this," he said, handing me the letter. "There's more." My hands trembled as I read the words written in my mother's familiar script. "Helen, if you're reading this, I'm already dead. Whatever you do, don't let them back into the house. The walls aren't hollow, they never were. I should have told you sooner, but they wouldn't let me. Your father thinks he's protecting us, but he doesn't understand what they want. What they've always wanted. There are dozens more," Mark said quietly. "All from your mother, all hidden in the walls." I sank to the floor, dust coating my work clothes. "What else do they say?" Mark sat beside me, pulling out more envelopes. They're dated. This one's from May 1987, 3 months before she left. I opened it carefully. They're getting stronger. I hear them at night, scratching, moving between the walls like shadows with teeth. Your father says I'm imagining things, that the medication will help. But the pills just make it harder to stay awake. And we have to stay awake, Helen. They hunt in our dreams. "This has to be some kind of joke," Mark said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Maybe she was sick. You said she had depression." "That's what Dad told everyone." I stood up, moving to the open wall. "After she disappeared, he had her committed. Said she had a breakdown, gone to a facility upstate. But there was never any paperwork, no records." Mark joined me at the wall, shining his phone's flashlight into the gap. The beam caught something that glinted dully. "There's something else in there." He reached in, grunting with effort, and pulled out a small tin box, the kind Mom used to keep her jewelry in. Inside was a key I'd never seen before, heavy and ornate, and another note. The basement door. The real one, behind the shelves. They came from there first, scratching their way up through the house like rats in the walls. But they're not rats, Helen. They were never rats. "What basement door?" Mark asked. "I've only seen the one to the coal cellar." My throat went dry. Mom used to talk about another door. Dad said she was confused, that the house just had the one basement. He kept it locked after she left. Mark was already heading downstairs, contractor instincts taking over. Houses this old often had multiple cellar entrances, for delivery, storage, or other things, I whispered, following him. The basement door, the only one we knew, was locked as always. But Mark had removed the shelving unit along the far wall during his initial inspection, revealing bare stone foundation. Except it wasn't all stone. "There," he said, running his hands along the wall. "This section's different. Newer brick, made the early 1900s. And look." His fingers found a seam, barely visible in the dim light. A doorway, bricked over and plastered to match the foundation. I held up the key from the tin. "Think this is what she meant?" "Only one way to find out." Mark grabbed his sledgehammer from his tools. "Stand back." The brick gave way easily, too easily, like it had been waiting for us. Behind it was a door of dark, stained wood, with a keyhole that matched our key perfectly. "We don't have to do this," Mark said softly. "We can brick it back up, sell the house." I thought of Mom's letters, Of all the nights I'd heard her pacing, talking about scratching in the walls. Of Dad's insistence that she was sick, imagining things. No, I put the key in the lock. I need to know. The door opened with a sound like a sigh. Beyond it, stairs led down into darkness. The beam of Mark's flashlight showed rough stone walls slick with moisture, descending deeper than any normal basement should go. And from below, so faint we might have imagined it, came a sound. Scratching. Helen. Mark's voice was tight. We should call someone. The police, or the police who helped Dad cover up Mom's disappearance. I took the first step down. No, whatever's down there, whatever she was trying to tell me, I have to know. The stairs seemed to go down forever. The air grew colder, heavier with each step. Our flashlight beams caught movement at the edges of darkness, or maybe it was just shadows playing tricks. Then we reached the bottom, and the beams fell on the far wall. More letters. Hundreds of them, pinned to the stone like wallpaper. All in Mom's handwriting, all dated after her supposed disappearance. The most recent was from last month. Oh God, I breathed, reading the first lines. She's alive. She's been down here the whole time. And from the darkness behind the forest of letters came a voice I hadn't heard in 35 years. Helen, is that you? Mom. My voice cracked as the flashlight beam searched the darkness. She emerged from behind a stone pillar, thin and pale as paper, but unmistakably my mother. Her hair had gone completely white, but her eyes, my eyes, were the same deep brown I remembered. You shouldn't have come, she whispered, glancing nervously at the shadows. It's not safe. They'll know you're here. Mark moved closer to me, his flashlight revealing more of the chamber. It was vast, far larger than the house's foundation above. The walls weren't just covered in letters, there were drawings too. Hundreds of them, depicting things that made my stomach turn. Mrs. Anderson, Mark started, but Mom cut him off. Quiet, she pressed a finger to her lips. They hear everything. The walls have ears. Literally. I took a step toward her, but she backed away. Mom, what happened? Dad said you were sick, that you left. She laughed, a hollow sound that echoed off the stone. Left? No, Helen. I tried to leave, many times. But they wouldn't let me. Your father wouldn't let me. Dad, he did this. He made a deal. She moved to one of the walls, touching a letter dated 1962. His father made it first, when they built this house. A bargain with them. Success, wealth, power, all for a price. Mark's flashlight caught something moving in the corner. When we turned to look, there was nothing there. What price? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. A guardian, Mom said. Someone to stay down here. To feed them, talk to them. Keep them company, she smiled savely. Your grandmother did it first. Then, when she died, your father needed someone else. That's when he met me. The scratching sound was getting louder, coming from inside the walls. He didn't tell me at first, Mom continued. Not until after we were married. Not until I was pregnant with you. Then they wanted me. Said a child wasn't part of the deal. Jesus, Mark breathed. The whole house is alive, Mom finished. Or something like it. They live in the walls between worlds. Your father's family has been their caretaker for generations. Their prison guards. Their food supply. My head was spinning. But why didn't you tell anyone? Get help. I tried. She pointed to another letter. Called the police. They came, looked around, found nothing. Your father told them I was having delusions. Showed them prescriptions I'd never taken. And then? A sound like nails on wood came from the stairs behind us. He's coming, Mom whispered. He always knows when someone's down here. Helen? Dad's voice called from above. Are you down there, sweetheart? Mark grabbed my arm. We need to go. Now? No, Mom clutched my hand. You don't understand. They won't let you leave. Not now that you know. They'll need a new guardian soon. I'm getting too old. Heavy footsteps on the stairs. Dad's voice getting closer. There you are. He stepped into the beam of our flashlights, looking exactly as he had that morning when he gave us the house. But his smile was different now, stretched too wide, too many teeth. I see you found your mother, and the family business. You're insane, Mark said, pulling me back. We're calling the police. Dad laughed, like Helen's mother did. Go ahead. The chief is an old friend. just like the judge, just like everyone else who matters in this town. He spread his arms. How do you think we afforded this house? My law practice? Your college education. Everything has a price, Helen. The scratching was all around us now. In the walls, the ceiling, the floor. They're hungry, Mom whispered. They're always hungry. It's not so bad, Dad said, stepping closer. Your mother makes it sound worse than it is. They just want company. Conversation. A little attention. His smile widened further. And now they want you, Helen. They've always wanted you. Like hell, Mark moved between us. We're leaving. Now. No one's leaving. Dad's voice changed, becoming deeper, resonant. The house has chosen, just like it chose your mother, Helen. Just like it chose your grandmother. The shadows behind him were moving, taking shapes that hurt my eyes to look at. Run. Mom suddenly shoved us toward a darker corner of the chamber. The servants' tunnel. Behind the shelf. We ran. Behind us, Dad's laugh became something inhuman. The scratching turned to screeching and the shadows. The shadows came alive. Mom slammed a hidden door behind us, sealing off the nightmare. We were in a narrow tunnel, barely wide enough for one person. Where does this go? Mark gasped as we ran. The woods, Mom panted. 1/2 mile. I found it years ago, but I couldn't leave. They would have just found someone else. Found you, Helen. The tunnel seemed endless. Behind us, things scraped and scratched at the door. Finally, fresh air. We emerged into the forest behind the house. The night sky a blessing after the darkness below. The house, I said, turning to Mom. We have to destroy it. Burn it down. She shook her head. Fire won't work. Nothing works. The house isn't the prison. It's the door. They're locked into our world through it, through the bargain. The only way to end it is to break the bargain, Mark finished. How? A howl echoed from the tunnel. Dad's voice, but not Dad's voice. The library, Mom said quickly. Your grandmother's journals. She hid them in the false bottom of the reference desk. Everything about the original deal, how it was made. More howls. Closer. Go, Mom stepped back toward the tunnel. I'll hold them off. Give you time. Mom, no. I've had 35 years to plan this, Helen. To wait for someone who could end it. Find the journals. Break the bargain. She hugged me fiercely. Save us all. She disappeared back into the tunnel before we could stop her. Mark and I ran through the woods, the house looming behind us like a monster against the stars. Through the windows, shadows moved unnaturally. The library, I gasped. We have to. We will. Mark took my hand. But first we need help. Real help. I thought of Mom, alone in the darkness for 35 years, of Dad's inhuman smile, of the things in the walls. Who would believe us? Someone will. Mark's jaw was set. Someone has to. Because I'm not letting that house take you. Not now. Not ever. Behind us, from the direction of the house, came a scream that shattered the night. Then another, and another. The bargain was calling, and we were running out of time. The library was dark when we arrived, but my key still worked. 15 years as head librarian had its advantages. Inside, the old building smelled of books and brass polish, normal, safe smells that seemed impossible after what we'd witnessed. Reference desk, I said, moving through the shadows. It's been here since 1902, same as the house. The massive oak desk was a fortress of drawers and cubbyholes. I'd worked at it for years, never knowing what lay beneath its polished surface. Never knowing my grandmother had hidden the truth there, waiting for someone to find it. How do we find the false bottom? Mark examined the desk with his architect's eye. This thing's built like a tank. My flashlight beam caught something, tiny scratches around one drawer. Not the frenzied marks from the house, but deliberate. Letters. Here. I traced them with my finger. It's a name. Elizabeth Anderson. Your grandmother? I nodded, pulling the drawer open. Inside, yellowed index cards cataloged books long since replaced by computers. But the drawer itself. It's too shallow, Mark said. Compare it to the others. He was right. I pulled the cards out, feeling along the wooden bottom until, click. The false bottom lifted, revealing a leather-bound journal and a small box. Dear Elizabeth, I read from the first page. If you're reading this, I've failed to break the bargain, but perhaps you'll succeed where I couldn't, where none of us could. My phone rang, making us both jump. Dad's number. I answered on speaker. Having fun at the library, sweetheart? His voice was wrong, layered with other voices. Your mother's being quite difficult. Always was. But you'll be different, won't you? What are they? I demanded. What does your family do? Progress requires sacrifice, Helen. America was growing. Industry booming. Our family had land but no power, no influence. Until my grandfather met them. The things in the walls. They needed a way into our world. We needed success. A simple trade. He laughed that horrible laugh again. A door for a door. Our house for their power. All it required was a guardian. Someone to feed them. Feed them what? Fear, pain, loneliness. Such exquisite emotions. Your mother's been quite the feast these past decades. Mark grabbed the journal, flipping pages frantically. There has to be something. You have 1 hour, Dad's voices said. Then they start taking pieces of her. Small pieces at first. Come home, Helen. Accept your inheritance. The line went dead. Here. Mark pointed to a page. Your great-grandfather didn't just make a deal. He performed a ritual. Blood magic. I read quickly. The bargain must be sealed with the blood of the family, renewed with each generation. The house is the door, the guardian the key, but every door has a weakness. The foundation stones, Mark continued reading. 13 stones, 13 marks. Break the circle. Break the bargain. I finished. Something scratched at the library windows. Shadows moved against the streetlights. They're coming. I grabbed the journal and box. We need weapons, something to break stone. Mark was already moving. Hardware store, 3 blocks, then the house. We ran through empty streets, the shadows following. The hardware store's alarm blared as Mark broke the glass. But we didn't care. Sledgehammers, chisels, crowbars, anything that might break through stone. The house was waiting when we returned. Every window blazing with sickly light, shadows writhing behind the glass. Dad stood on the porch, but he wasn't Dad anymore. His skin rippled like water, his smile impossibly wide. Welcome home, the thing wearing my father said. Mum's scream echoed from below. We ran. Not away this time, straight at the house. Mark's shoulder took the door off its hinges. The shadows reached for us but couldn't quite touch us. The journal had mentioned that they needed the guardian's permission to physically harm anyone of the bloodline. Down the basement stairs. Through the brick door that now gaped open like a wound. Mom lay in the center of the chamber, pale but alive. The shadows circled her like hungry wolves. The stones. I shouted to Mark. Look for marks. There, carved symbols on the foundation stones. 13 of them, forming a perfect circle around the chamber. How touching. Dad's thing stood at the top of the stairs. A rescue attempt. But you're too late. The bargain must be renewed tonight. Your mother's strength is almost gone. I lifted the sledgehammer. You're right, the bargain will be renewed. And I swung at the first stone. The crack was like thunder. The shadows screamed. Dad's thing stumbled. Mark hit the second stone. Then the third. Stop. Dad's voice mixed with inhuman shrieks. You'll doom us all. No, Mom whispered from the floor. Just you. I helped her up as Mark broke the 7th stone, then the 8th. The shadows were going crazy, swirling like a tornado of darkness. Dad's thing charged down the stairs, its form shifting grotesquely, but with each broken stone it moved slower. 11, 12. Helen, it begged with my father's voice. Please, we can share the power. Together. I met its eyes, my father's eyes, but with something else looking through them. Goodbye, Dad. The 13th stone shattered. Light exploded through the chamber. The shadows screamed one final time, and Dad's body collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. The walls themselves seemed to groan. Run. Mom pulled us toward the stairs. We barely made it out before the house imploded, collapsing in on itself like it was being swallowed by something vast and hungry. When the dust settled, nothing remained but a crater. Is it over? I asked Mom. She smiled, her first real smile in 35 years. The door is closed. They're gone. Mark held me close as we watched the sunrise. Sometimes inheritances are better left unclaimed, and sometimes the only way to honor family is to break the chains they forged.